3:50 p.m. in San Francisco, California on March the 8th. Please note that all discussions, analysis, and information presented are for general informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial or any other form of professional advice. I wanted to review this volume setup because it looks like it's going to work. So you guys can see how, again today, even on the spike volume, volume remained under this downtrend line. So again, this downtrend line we've drawn off the March 1st spike high. That was first 60-minute bar of trading activity, and then the March 3rd opening bar of trading activity as well. So then you can see where it was challenged here and turned back, and then roughly challenged here and turned back. So the idea here is that you're wedging down, but you also have a certain nesting volume. We're calling it 1.2 million. Actually, yesterday, 1.2. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good 1.2, 1.3, call it something like that. In any event, what we'll see here is a collision of this spiking volume downtrend into the nesting, resting volume horizontal line with a couple hours left in the trading session tomorrow. Now, that doesn't mean we can't start to take off a little bit early. That's happened in the past. It just means that they basically run out of time, and typically you see volume come in after this collision point right here. So again, at the very latest, we'll call it the final 2 hours of trading tomorrow, which would be March the 9th, which fits what we have here, March 9, March 10 volume spike coming. I'll show you what's interesting about that, to me at least, is you can see that we've had another dropout underneath this yellow uptrend line. So this yellow uptrend line is, it's the most important thing we're tracking here. We had something similar back in 2021 in our setup there. And I'm not saying that we're about to melt up to a new all-time high here. What I am saying is that we have a friendly setup for a nice move to the upside coming up out of this structure. So again, point of reference takes us all the way back to the January low. And you can see all these other, volume setups we had that served as a pretty good indication of an increase in volume within a new uptrend. So again, pretty straightforward. We need to get above the 635 weekly trigger. We're not that far away, obviously, closed at 585 today. So we have a timing element coming from the volume characteristics that we've set up. You guys have seen how this works in the past. It's worked very well. So we know a couple things from this chart. We know we can typically expect to see an increase in volume late in the day on the 9th, the latest, and then on the 10th. And then that can carry into next week, which will be 13, 14, 15, carries us right into that key moment in time. We also know that we were rejected from the monthly trigger last time in the spike that we had into the high and the opening bar on the 28th of February. Anytime we've already seen a move to the upside into a trigger and the velocity at the lower time frames has repaired or even become positive, that gives us a little more of a probability of not only reaching that trigger again, but breaking through it. So if we can break through that trigger during the days ahead, again, we focus on this 1423 retest level, 1565 pay me later, 1750 pay me later, and then all the way up to this 2125. That's a 2150 retest at the 5-minute fractal level. On the 60-minute, it's more like a 2125. So you guys get the point. I don't want anybody to be confused because I've used that 2150 as a password in these videos in the past. I'm going to use 2125 for today's password. So you guys can see roughly what this setup looks like. Now, when when we dive into Anemoi, something really interesting here. We'll go ahead and view in full screen, and I want you guys to focus on this move off this low, okay? And I want you to focus on, I'm going to remove price, other than first to show you guys we had a push up, price is the white line. We had a push up, a pull back, and a push up again to a higher high, okay? Now, if I remove price and we concentrate just on the trigger interaction, you'll see the hourly trigger move up through the daily trigger. We had the typical price pullback on the bullish trigger cross, but then look at this. You see how you have the hourly trigger airplane on the daily trigger, and then you pushed up a second time, okay? So again, price moved up, bullish trigger cross causes a counter trend move plays out, and you have the hourly trigger airplaning on the daily trigger, another push up, price spikes to a higher high, right? Well, look at the setup that we've just gone through. Price pushes up. Now let me remove price, and you can see hourly trigger moves up, pushes up through the daily trigger, also pushes through the weekly, but let's just concentrate. Matter of fact, I'm going to remove that weekly trigger just so you're not distracted. And we push up, and here we are again with a similar situation to where we were right here on January 31st and going into February 1st, to where we were having a bullish airplane of the hourly trigger to the daily and a second push higher. So again, push up through, pull back down. And again, if this works the way it did during this series, up, down, up, then we're looking at price up, down, and another push up. When we push up, assuming this is going to track, this monthly trigger now is at 848. When we attack the monthly trigger here at the tail end of February, it was sitting at 858. So the monthly trigger dropped 10 cents for the month of March. And so if you think in terms of this price high, pull back into the bullish airplane, and then higher high, well, we're already right up into the monthly trigger, and now we've pulled back. And so if we're going to post a higher high in this sort of same algorithm that we're running through, that's enough to get us up through this 848 level over the coming handful of sessions. Now, if you look at how dynamic the move was here off this airplane, that airplane was, let's call it, again, January 31st or February 1st. Here's February 2nd, February 3rd was a Friday, and then February 6th here. So really it's only, once price started to turn up again, it's only 1, 2, 3 sessions into that high. Now, if that were to happen again, obviously, we would be back above 848 very early next week. And that depends on how much time we have to spend tomorrow finishing this out. You can see that this airplane was deep, and it actually made contact with the daily trigger. They were both at 522 for, let's see, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was a 5-6 hour event before you pushed up. You can see here we're not even quite down to, let's see, are we at the daily triggers at 595, our hourlies at 610. So, not out of the question for us to see a little more downside in a handful of hours. Well, if this event right here took about 6 hours to run its course and turn back up again into this second leg price move, then we can be it would sync up really nicely with what we just saw in the volume characteristics, which give us multiple hours tomorrow, right? 5-6 hours before technically we have the collision of this volume spike downtrend into the nesting resting volume. So caught my attention. It's pretty rare for sort of everything to line up the way this is lined up. But this is has a really compelling look to it, to me. And of course, we need a little bit of luck on our side as always. But this looks encouraging to me. Now, whether or not, even if we post a second price push up above this high and through this 848 level, whether or not we can spike aggressively up to 1423 or higher into the early part of next week, first things first, we need to turn up. But if we do, there's no reason for the monthly trigger to not allow acceleration at this point. Remember, you guys, we repaired a monthly velocity. Okay, so when you look at the way monthly velocity was positioned as price was attacking that monthly trigger right there at 858 last month, monthly velocity was a minus 0.252. Well, for this month, it's only a minus 0.098. So that means that there will be much less of a force holding us down under this monthly trigger once we get above it. Now, we still have negative velocity, so that still favors the idea of price potentially slamming back down to 848, even if we were to spike all the way to 14 or even 2150. But if we can manage to create some new zones of strength, and if our daily algo can flip long going into Friday and especially into early next week, we could be in a situation where price can hold up above the monthly trigger for a long enough period of time, and especially if we can hold up into month end, up around $14 or something. What that would do is that would pancake monthly velocity or even flip it positive for the month of April as we move forward. So, a lot of good things can happen from here. But I do consider tomorrow to be, one of those moments of truth. Pretty, like I say, syncing up pretty similarly to this January 31st, February 1st period. So that's it from my side, you guys. I will continue to message on the sidebar area if I see anything that changes. But as I said, this looks compelling and it looks encouraging. And remember, even after the vote, we're not going to have any resolution of this court case until well into April or May. And that's if there's no delay in the judge's ruling. So no matter what, even if the vote is a yes vote, there's going to be a period of time where there is not going to be a reverse split. And if you were a hedge fund betting on not only a yes vote, and maybe the reason you bet on that was because you had a 25% controlling interest in the entire company now, and along with some of your other friends, you knew that you had enough votes for the yes, enough shares for the yes vote, you might have assumed that you could sync up your potential risk of being short through the vote date. And then if you knew the reverse split would follow very quickly on the heels of a potential yes vote, this is a huge monkey wrench in your game plan. The fact that this can drag not only into April 27th, obviously, but well beyond that and into May. So this is encouraging from my perspective. And like I said, I'll let you guys know as soon as I generate any new data, whether bullish or bearish on my side. Good luck.